After missing the sub 3 hour goal in Minnesota, I was left wondering, what do I do next? Because the plan was always to run sub 3 in Minnesota, qualify for Boston, take the rest of 2023 relatively easy, and then ramp up my training in January of 2024 for Boston. But now that that's not happening, I have to think about what are my goals and plans for the rest of 2023. And after taking some time to really think about it, I've decided that I want to give the sub 3 hour goal another shot in the fall of 2023. The only thing left was figuring out what would be my goal race for that. And luckily, after my disastrous race in 2022 at the Glass City Marathon, I decided to defer my fall registration for Philadelphia of 2022, which means my goal race for the fall of 2023 and hitting that sub 3 hour marathon will be Philadelphia in November. And so after deciding that I'm going to go for another sub 3 attempt in the marathon, I had to ask myself, what are some things that I may need to change about my training to make sure I hit that goal? Because this will be my 4th attempt at running a sub 3 hour marathon. And in the last 3 attempts, I blew up in every single race and have never even come close to actually hitting that sub 3 hour mark. So clearly something in my training is not working and I may need to make some adjustments. And I believe I've identified 5 things that I can change to help hopefully get me to the place where in November I run a sub 3 hour marathon and run a strong marathon with no blowups. So the first thing I need to change in my approach to this sub 3 attempt is my training plan. I've been running the Hanson's marathon method for the past 2 years and have decided that I think I need to change it up because that may be part of the problem. With the Hanson's marathon method, where there's a focus on compound fatigue and just overall volume, I've realized that even though I'm following the training to a T in terms of paces, workouts, easy runs, everything, I may have been overtraining just a little bit. Running the easy runs a little too hard and running the speed work not hard enough. And so I've decided to change over to the McMillan training plan, which is a time-focused training plan over volume. Now with the McMillan training plan, like I said, it's a time focus. So the philosophy is that your body doesn't really understand miles, it only understands time on feet. And so with every easy run, some of your long runs, and then most warm-ups and cool downs for your speed work, it will all be time-based, which means no matter how fast or slow I'm running each day, I'm only gonna be out for 50 to 100 minutes at a time for each of my runs, which I do believe may help in avoiding overtraining or just pushing my body too far on days where with the Hanson's marathon method, I would have had to go out and do 10, 12, 14, 16 miles after a full day of work and being a parent to 2 kids. It's just not feasible. And it's definitely a recipe for overtraining. And so being able to say, okay, no matter how I'm feeling, I only got to do 60 minutes today. That's a lot better of a mindset in going out, making sure I don't overextend myself to hit some mileage goal for the day, and allows for me to hopefully avoid overtraining. Now, the second thing that I am changing with my training this time around is focusing on running by heart rate versus running by pace. So in all my training blocks previously, I've always run by pace. And to be honest, Hanson's marathon method, Luke Humphrey's pace calculator, is actually pretty good in terms of the paces it provides. McMillan's is a little crazy. He has like easy runs, like 10 to 20 seconds off of your marathon pace, which is just absurd, which has led me to think another way I can reduce the chance of overtraining and ensuring that not only am I running on a time-based effort, but like a relative effort, is just focusing on heart rate to ensure that I'm not pushing my body and not truly doing an easy run on my easy days. So running by heart rate will allow me to run easy on my easy days, and then hopefully run really hard on those speed or hard days. It is getting way too hot out here. I had to take the shirt off. Whew. But back to talking about running on heart rate. The plan this time around, all easy runs will be run on heart rate. As you can see, I'm wearing the Polar H10 chest strap to make sure I'm getting the best heart rate reading possible. Long runs where it's time-based, same thing, will only be at heart rate effort. Speed work will be focused on pace, and any long run where there's a specific mileage attached to it will be more about relative effort and pace, with a slight focus on heart rate to ensure I'm not going too hard on those extended long runs. The third thing that I am changing this time around is really focusing on that speed work. So with the Hanson's marathon method, you pretty much start speed work immediately in the training plans that are provided through Final Surge. And then I believe within 3 weeks of your training, it goes to 2 days of speed work with a then long run at the end of the week. So technically you're doing 3 days at roughly close to threshold, which again gets back to that whole idea of overtraining with Hanson's marathon method. Macmillan, you really don't do any speed work for the first 4 weeks at all. You do like some optional strides, as well as what Macmillan calls a progression run, where 1 day a week you speed up your run near the end of the run, but nothing even close to what Luke Humphrey has you doing. And then as the speed work actually does build, you do focuses on 1 mile pace effort, 5K, 10K, half marathon. There's a plethora or like a good mix. Whereas with Hanson's, you never go faster than 10K with the generic plans from Final Surge. You never go faster than 10K speed, and you really focus on 10K and then marathon pace, or like marathon pace minus 10 seconds. So the third thing I'm hoping to change is, along with focusing on timed easy runs based on heart rate, I'm hoping that focusing on faster leg turnover and different variations of speed work will help give me the tools I need to run a sub-3 in Philly. The fourth change to my training for a sub-3 hour marathon is that I will be running a tune-up race 6 weeks before the actual race. So I'm gonna be doing the Detroit Free Press half marathon in October, which is 6 weeks away from the Philadelphia Marathon. The main reason I think this is gonna be necessary to me hitting that sub-3 hour goal is just that racing creates a different mindset and really gets you prepared to understand what you're gonna need to do for the actual goal race. And so that tune-up race allows me to, one, test out some of my theories or strategies in an actual race. It helps get me mentally prepared about kind of where my fitness is at and what I might need to adjust in those last 6 weeks, as well as just racing is a different animal compared to just going out and doing a run by yourself. In the last 3 sub-3 hour attempts that I've done, I never really raced at all. And after doing these past 2 5Ks and this upcoming 5K that I have this week, I've realized that when you're racing, there's a different mental switch that you have to turn on to really push yourself and get the best out of yourself. Granted, these 5Ks have been done with absolutely, like, basically no training. So yeah, my fitness isn't there, and I really have to mentally fight to do that last 2,000 meters or the last mile of the race. But it has made me realize that in running those 5Ks, there's just a difference in really putting yourself to the test with a race compared to just going out and doing some scheduled long run at a pace by yourself, outside of the racing atmosphere, outside the racing mentality and the physicality it takes to run a race. So a tune-up race should hopefully get me, like it says, fine-tuned to really understand what that sub-3 feels like, how I'm doing in my training, build that confidence to know I can hit the sub 3. And then, like I said, make any adjustments to my strategies, such as like fueling, race gear. It'll give me that 6 weeks to make any adjustments necessary. The fifth and final thing I am changing with my training for a sub 3 hour marathon is just implementing strength training into my routine. I talked about this in my runner's knee video, but essentially strength training was not a focus of mine prior to my knee injury. And strength training is great for running overall for primarily 2 reasons. One, preventative maintenance, and secondly, strength training helps ensure that you have no weaknesses or imbalances within your body, which again leads to that injury prevention. So the primary reason for strength training is just to ensure that I don't get injured with all the high volume running that I'm doing. Strength training will now always be a foundation of my running and running training, no matter what plan I'm doing or what philosophy I'm following with running. Strength training will always be a key concept to that overall training. And so with a goal, race, and goal time in place, I'm starting a new marathon training series. I'm calling it Sub 3 in Philly, which I know is very original. I'm going to show different aspects of my training every single week as I go for my 4th attempt at running a sub 3 hour marathon.